Okay, the time being 9 o'clock on Friday, January 10th, I'd like to call the meeting of the DPW and Fire Station Building Committee to order. First of all, Happy New Year to everyone in attendance. First time we met since the change of the year. Hope you all had great holidays, but now it's back to work. Have a couple of things to go over on the agenda. A lot of updates because I know the design team and Pomeroy, our project manager, have been working diligently despite the holidays, with a lot of things going on since the last time we met, which was just before Thanksgiving, I believe. But first, just some administrative stuff. Are there any invoices to be processed or paid? Nothing? Great.
yet.
No minutes available at this time to review. And we do have it on agenda, just a reminder, the state ethics certification. You might have, did everyone get an email from state ethics? I got one, and did you get, how did you?
Yeah, I got an email.
So I don't know how the system's working, but they're finding out, basically, if you're a volunteer for the town on a committee, you're considered a town employee, unpaid, but you're an employee. So you have to do the state ethics training. It's an online thing. It's been updated. Takes about an hour to sit there and watch a bunch of snippet videos, but it's something you do, and then once you do it, you're done for a year or two. Right, Gordon?
Yeah, well, there's two. One is just a quick five-minute update, which is what this one was. And then you got the full one.
Conflict of
Yeah,
interest,
yeah.
yeah.
But I did get an email. I got an email every other day for 10 days. Reminding
And looking at you, apparently. I got a file out on you. So if everyone could, if you need more information, the town clerk also has that. So anyone who's employed by the town or volunteers for the town. Then moving on to the update about the permitting process, the permitting schedule. The planning board, we are returning to them on the 21st, a Tuesday special meeting to hopefully wrap up our site plan review. We've been pushing along. The trickiest part of it was there's an existing 36-inch drain pipe that cuts across the police station property and the current DPW property that goes into Island Grove. It's a very, very old pipe, and the town engineer and our engineer has been looking at it, how we can utilize it for our drainage, and it's thrown a couple of curveballs at us, but we just had an online Teams meeting between the engineers. What was that, yesterday? Yesterday. And
12 hours ago.
Yeah, seems to have been resolved to everyone's satisfaction, and that will be presented to the planning board. Any other thing you want to add to that?
I mean, we're hoping to close it that night, which would be the 21st, the day after Martin Luther King Day, that Tuesday.
Right.
I think we're off.
And your submission, your resubmission, or resubmission is going in today, right?
Yep,
Okay.
it'll be delivered.
And the special permit that the planning board has to issue has been issued and approved. It's already been recorded and filed with the building department. That was the special permit regarding lot coverage under our bylaw. So we are on the precipice of getting those permits in line, which will become part of our bidding package for phase 2. And then beyond that, once we get a contractor award to a contractor, they will then be responsible for the building permit and water, sewer connections, and anything else that's part of the actual construction. Right?
Yeah, the one thing I will add too is just in that permitting, there will be a few changes to the phase 1 work. Obviously, that was bid out already, so an ASI will be issued, or an architectural supplementary instructions, which basically means that there's been some changes. They'll look at them. There's been some deletes. There's going to be a few adds, so it might wash out. There might be a little extra cost, but there's things that, because of the permitting, we need to take care of in phase 1. So that'll expect that when we start rolling with phase 1.
Right. Just for the record, Alex Bezanson, our 5th member, just walked in, and he is here present at the meeting. Yeah, and that was, again, Larry Silva from Silver Engineering, the town's engineer, and Weston and Sampson worked out. They were basically designing this, putting in a stormwater management system on this site where it doesn't exist. And they have designed it so that really it would address pretty much the worst of the worst storms. And it looks like we're good to go. So the good news, again, if maybe Taylor, you could recap about the results of the phase 1 bidding, and that was for the construction of the new access driveway to the right of the police station, the fuel island, and the salt shed. remind everybody where we are.
Yeah, absolutely. Before I start, in the audience, we have Anthony Fonseca. He's going to be our on-site clerk for this phase one. He just finished up doing back-to-back fire stations in Plymouth, being the on-site clerk. So I thought it'd be a good idea to have him here and start to take in what we're doing at these meetings. He's been back at the office, reviewing the plans, pretty much getting ready to get out there. So Anthony's very easy to work with. I'm sure everybody here will enjoy working with him, but just wanted to introduce him.
Molly's shaking her head.
Not easy to work with. I'm
Welcome
just kidding.
aboard, Anthony.
I'm kidding. He's the most chill.
So yes, bids came in right before Thanksgiving. And if you remember, we were a little bit lower where the bids ended up coming in. We were expecting somewhere around $4.5 million. Our bids came in at $3,002,880. We'll call it 3.2 million. So we don't have to get down to pennies. But so APC was the general contractor that was awarded that. Molly went through and did a pretty comprehensive investigation of their DCAM and bid report. Do you want to talk a little bit about that, Molly? I'm kind of putting you on the spot.
Yeah, no worries. I forget, honestly, which the other ones were.
Yeah, I think you can
But-
just talk about APC.
Yeah, so I went through, I pulled the DCAM reports for the 3 lowest bidders. And in the DCAM report, it is, recent references, it does like a whole scoring evaluation. So people input their references. We basically do the average of them all, go through the comments, and then reach out to them, reach out to the references as well, to see if they have any further comment. And yeah, everything checked out. They checked out. Yeah, there was nothing gleaming
No.
whatsoever. They had a good report, above average report, no insane comments, and the people we spoke to had good things to say. So
And for those of you at home who don't know, DCAM is a state agency that
Yes.
basically is a warehouse of, kind of like the Better Business Bureau
For
of municipal
contractors.
construction, right? So if these contractors have had problems and towns have filed complaints, that's where we would go find out, kind of get a history of their prior projects. And Molly, thank you for all the work you did. You did a lot of work,
Yeah,
gave
of
us a nice
course.
written report.
Yeah, no worries. But mainly what we do in those two is we look for similar size projects, similar size, similar scope, and similar cost. And for all of those, they were very on par with what we are expecting and what we hope for. So they checked out on all the ones that were this size. So
Yeah.
it's great.
I think this is a perfect size for what they do. We just finished up, or a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years now, but a maintenance facility at South Shore Country Club. And it's pretty much a salt shed. It's a maintenance facility over at South Shore Country Club, but it's a pre-engineered metal building. So it's right up their alley. I think we'll be fine with them. We're friendly with them now. So they've actually already started to put in submittals, which are, just for everybody that doesn't understand what submittals are, but anything that goes into the job or anything that's being built, the contractor has to submit on that item all the way down to every screw, so that it meets exactly what the specs are that the design team put together. So they're already starting to send in, hey, these are the manholes we're going to use in the road, this is the type of metal building we're going to use, this is so on and so forth. So those get reviewed by the design team, get okayed, and then they're allowed to order their product. So they're already starting to push. The final contract was signed, I believe, Monday by the contractor, and that was sent over to Scott's office. So I gave Scott a heads up that it should be on the way. So that's where we were. As soon as the town signs that, we'll issue the notice to proceed. We've already issued the notice of award. They should be on their way with phase one.
And do they give us a little heads up, a little notice when they're gonna start?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We'll have a kickoff meeting too.
Okay.
As soon as that notice of receipt is issued. But I would expect in the next 2 to 3 weeks, we'll probably see some mobilization there.
All right, just so we can notify the police department and our abutters, one of which is here, Mr. DiCarlo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Call
won't be. We promise you, it won't be them just showing up and starting to work. We'll have a good idea. We're going to ask for a schedule, obviously, up front, and understanding when they're going to get in there, and they'll probably put up fencing and that sort of thing to
Right.
see first.
So likely sometime in February, might see them on site?
I would say that's probably your best guess at this point. There might be some early mobilization that we see, but probably the nitty gritty would be February, yeah.
Mr. DiCarlo?
I can tell you, there's been a couple of engineering types on site with blueprints walking around, and there've been National Grid trucks 2 or 3 days, small trucks here, that are probably marking the gas line or something.
Yeah, I think there's been some dig safe that's gone out there, and the contractor's just been out there kind of getting ready for it, so.
So Anthony, this is Henry DiCarlo. He's in the house next door to the police station. You guys might see each other a lot since Anthony's on site, and apparently Henry's watching everything out his window.
It's,
Let's keep an eye on the police chief.
That's right. All right, anything else on phase one where everything's going great?
Yeah, everything's moving along well right now. Again, just to remind everybody, we're hoping to complete phase one by the end of May to line up with our bidding schedule and start phase two. I've relayed that to the contractor. They're comfortable with that. They're okay with that. So, I think the long lead item would be the metal building at this point. So
The salt shed, I don't even think that's that terrible these
Yeah.
days. I mean, I've heard they've gone up pretty quickly. Seems like Iron Horse is the chosen contractor based on what I've heard through the chatter. They do a lot of salt sheds for us. The fuel island might be a long lead item potentially, but those show up, they plop and drop the tanks. And there will be some selections we'll have to coordinate with the town. You'll have to choose the color of the salt shed, things like that. Maybe the color of the fuel island tanks, if you want Abington green or, blue or gray. So some things to think about, so,
And the demolition of the existing fuel island will be part of phase two.
yes.
correct.
So we're not gonna get started with any demolition of the existing DPW facility until the new fuel island and salt shed are ready to be up and running. Okay. So moving on to project budget action items, just a brief budget update from Taylor Pomeroy.
Yeah, so I did pass out a budget recap. I do have a couple extras out here for anybody in the audience. And this is the exact same budget that we looked at and approved. If you remember, we'll call it the slim version, when we approved to move forward with kind of our soft costs zeroed out in some cases. I put this into a working budget that we'll be using for each month ending. So what you'll see under month ending December of '24, that's right before, right after we got the bid in, is kind of where all of our allocations stand at this point. And then if there's any adjustments between the end of one month and the end of the other, I'll put that in that center column with that final adjustment, probably be taken out of the contingency based on what it is. But at this point, I added in, it's an estimate at this point, I think they're at like 12,500 for review time for the third-party planning board reviewer. So I put in $15,000 just to cover what they've been doing. So you'll see that adjustment at the bottom to our contingency, less $15,000. What I did was, if you go back and you look at the OPC, this is the form that everybody was used to looking at. What I did was I rolled up our contingencies under one line. We had a construction contingency and we had an owner's contingency. They're basically, it's the same pot of money. So I combined those at the bottom there. I pulled out phase one construction, and then what I did was I took the total amount we had for construction, subtracted phase one. What you're left with is phase two. So line two there, the 31 million and change is really an estimate. So that's where we're hoping our estimate, that's where we're hoping our bid comes in when we put this out this coming spring and summer. So anything under that is great. We would just go back into our contingency. Our lines for our architect and OPM, those are stagnant. Those are contract numbers. And then everything else you see here are kind of estimates that we had been tracking in the OPC. So the plan is, as we start moving forward with this project, if there's things that we can start funding back, so if the bid comes in less, great. If our contingency stays strong throughout the project, we'll start funding back furniture or access control, or access control would be in any way under Holbrook, but some AV stuff, some computer equipment, the things that we zeroed out, we'll start funding those back. Right now, it's just way too soon. We're focusing on the buildings themselves, so we can move forward with the square footage that everybody approved. So That's the way this budget will work. We'll also have, in conjunction with this, a pay app budget. So it'll show you every single line will be the same exact budget on the left, but then it'll show you what's been spent to date by each line, by each contractor. It has footnotes. I'm working on that now. I'll update all the payments we've had to date, really just for OPM, and architect, and a little bit of Larry Silva's stuff. So there'll be two really working budgets that you'll get on a monthly basis.
And the recent revisions as of yesterday for the drainage, the updates, the resolution, should be a minimal increase in cost
Yeah.
to the 3.3 million it is right now.
Yeah.
So we're still good. And we'll just try to, hopefully minimize any contingency spending in phase one, so we kind of reserve it for phase two. When do we need to talk about ad alternates before we go out to bid, right? When are we gotta address that?
I'll
We weren't necessarily anticipating doing any ad alternates. I mean, obviously that's a discussion with this group, if we feel that's necessary.
The only one that comes to mind in my mind was the canopy discussion we had last meeting about, if we had money to do it, where do we put it, how big is it, that type of thing.
I think that's the only one I remember too, is
Right.
additional canopies somewhere.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
right? But, so I guess, if that's something that we want to include, that's obviously at the DPW side. But, it's an add-on, right? It's an add alter.
Yeah, I'm not, we certainly can't spend money we don't have.
Sure.
But if the phase one bidding, if I can be an ultimate optimist, carries forward to phase two, we might have an ability to spend $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 on something that we'd like, but didn't think we'd ever have a shot at. But again, I don't know what a canopy costs, so maybe, Brian, if you can work up a number of, we never really settle on the dimension, other than we don't want it connected to a building,
Yep.
right?
Sean, we also had some discussions regarding what if the utility can do anything, putting PV on it.
Putting solar panels on the buildings
Yes,
as a potential add alternate to this project, right? Is that what you're saying?
for the canopy itself,
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
the future canopy.
Depending on how large it is, well, I guess it doesn't really matter how large it is, we could potentially do it.
It wouldn't matter about location.
Yeah, right, where it's facing,
Like, the fire station would have a top that's unobstructed by anything.
right.
But the canopy, if it's like, say, on the western side of the property, it might be deflected by trees, so it might not get as much
Yeah,
sun.
especially if it has a pitched roof to
Exactly.
the west.
Yep.
But yeah, it's something we can certainly look at, Bob, and potentially include as part of that. Gordon, you wanted to say something?
Well, I just wanted to raise a question, if it's really unknown about these canopies, whether they will have the money or not, and where they're a standalone, is there any way, rather than do all this upfront work without knowing whether it's needed or not, is there any way to just, once the contract bids come in, negotiate a contract amendment as a standalone afterwards, rather than try to guess going upfront?
Yeah, there's always the opportunity to, ask for, it would be a change order,
Yeah.
to that contract. I think if we can get it in as that ad alternate, we'd save some money probably.
Okay.
I think change order is not always dollar for dollar for sure, they're gonna give you a little bit of a push, so, I think it would be great if we can reserve a spot or look at that, and then we're not worried about, the underground, the footings will be there, they can get all that down and get the pavement and not have to worry about coming back if we did it at a later date, but, yeah, I think it certainly, that could be done, but I think I would like to see an alternate. It would be an easier way to get it done.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I remember when we did the police station, the training room was an ad alternate. And we were able to do it because the bids came in well, and I know we had some at the school. So, if you're not familiar with it, you go out to bid for your base project, and then you have this list of ad alternates and ask the contractor to give you pricing that if the bids come in and we have the extra money, yes, we'll take number one and number two for an extra, we'll spend the extra 300,000 or whatever it is. But if you have 2 or 3 proposed ad alternates, you have to accept them in the order that you list them. So we have to prioritize which is the one that we'd like first, and then second and third. So, we're not required to have a list of ad alternates, but if there is something that, would be nice if we have the money, like potential canopy. And again, if anyone wants to think about, if there's something else that we're not discussing right now, then let's bring it up, because we'd want it to be part of our bid package, sorry. So Brian, I think last meeting, we talked about the canopy. It was wouldn't be like a wooden structure, it'd be more, you talked about like a steel frame structure of some
Yeah.
sort. Whether it's 30 feet long or,
Usually, if we do a standalone canopy, which we've done a few times over the years, it's 30 feet deep, because that's typically the depth of a vehicle for a DPW type setup. And then we try to stick it at least 30 feet away, so we don't have to put in sprinklers. So that's, a cost savings. And then the ones I think that someone's just talking about with the PV on top, usually a utility comes in after the fact and does those with like a parasol type company, and you see those at schools a lot now, where they're like double winged for, car parking, or they're single winged or whatever. Those are sometimes difficult, because a lot of that's based on your PPA agreement with the utility in town, and whether or not you're maxed out or not, potentially. So I think right now, if we were to design something, it would have to probably be something without solar panels. And then,
But
yeah.
that doesn't mean you could go back and put solar panels on that. Yeah.
Yes, so it has to be designed for solar panels, but a lot of times that gets tricky with towns and municipalities regarding the utility, whether or not they can even handle it sometimes. We're finding that out.
both of our buildings are gonna be constructed so
Yes.
that they could be added.
Of course. It has the weight design for it.
Exactly.
in it.
And I think when we talked about this canopy, we had thought that we wouldn't need a back wall to the canopy, because we were gonna have a fence, a solid fence that's already there for, privacy, security issues. I would just reiterate, well, let me ask, I know the fire chiefs are away today, but obviously Derek's here. I had to, in my mind, a vision of a canopy is not so much, didn't have to be for vehicles, let's say that. It could have been for other equipment, you just wanted to stay out of the rain and snow. Is that something, like, what would you use a canopy for DPW fire? Most likely, would you put your tar kettles under it, and
You park your trucks under it, though.
you'd rather have vehicles under it?
Yeah, the ones that doesn't in the building.
Okay.
Yeah, that doesn't fit the building.
And how would fire use it, like fireboat type of stuff, or?
No, we wouldn't really need much space. We have trailers
Yeah.
that we still have to figure out what we're gonna do with.
Which don't necessarily have to be under a canopy.
Not necessarily, no. And we do have some Connex boxes that I'm sure we'll find a spot for. Or if we don't even need it, that all depends on the 5 Rockland Street property.
Yeah,
But we should be able to make things fit. I don't think we're gonna necessarily have too much stuff outside.
okay. So wherever you would propose to put this, we were talking about on that western side, the former site of the old generator area, as long as it doesn't interfere with the maneuverability of vehicles coming in and out. So if that shrinks it, it shrinks it, but,
What would we have for an alternate max pricing based on this? Do we know? Like, is 500 a tipping point potentially? I know, we don't know until the bids come in, but, I want to be realistic here and not give you the $3 million canopy.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Based on
500.
size.
Yeah, like what do we?
we don't want a $3 million canopy.
So I'm just trying to see like what we have in the wiggle room. I can't tell actually from this.
That's an interesting question. Yeah, I think it would be. I mean, to me, it's almost. I don't know. Look at the size you have to work with on site.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
And just give you that.
We could almost max it, like almost master plan it. And if we have to, say bid alternate 1 is a 50-foot canopy.
Exactly. Yeah.
Bid alternate 2 is a 100-foot canopy.
Right.
Just get the price, the upsize
So we can
price.
get the F size for each of them. Because I personally don't think there is room, but it's
There's not a lot of
not
room.
gonna be a lot of room for a large
Right.
canopy. So I think we can just look at how we can max it out, and then we can peel
It's a
it
good
back,
point,
peel
yeah.
it back of a smaller alternate.
Yeah.
It sounds like that's really what we're gonna be doing for alternates, or potentially, so we can just upscale it that way.
Yeah.
Um,
Brian is right about what he said about towns with PPA agreements and the utility company coming in after. We did a project too where it wasn't as an alternate, but as a change order, we just brought the power and the conduits just out to the parking lot and stubbed them up. And then after we were gone, the town contacted the utility company. They came in, they put the canopies up, they put the solar up. It wasn't part of our project at all, and they got their whole parking lot covered. So we just made sure the power was there.
Something to consider. I mean, it is the future, and if, I don't want to rip up the parking lot just to put a conduit in.
Yeah. That might be, I don't know if that needs to be an alternate. That could be something as simple as, look, when they're putting out when they're grading for the driveways and the parking lot, can we get a couple extra conduits just from the building, from the electrical room out into the parking lot and just stub them up or leave them, know where they are, right? And then utility company can come back at it.
Yeah, and you could potentially run a conduit from the DPW garage to this proposed canopy off the pavement, like along the fence line, kinda, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we'll have to see what Weston and Sampson can come up with. But again, if we're fortunate enough to do it, great, but if we don't ask for it, we can't get it. Unless we do a change order, but it's gonna be 120% of what it would have been.
I think sizing them out, like Sean just said, is a good idea.
Yeah, let me send.
Start with a smaller size and work your way up, and then maybe we land in the middle of that by the time we're done bidding it.
Yeah. Maybe it's talk even of putting one over near the salt shed, but I think the one that we're talking about here on the western side would be the most usable area.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else in the budget update? I mean, it is what it is. We're stagnant right now.
Yeah.
Until we kind of go out to bid.
One thing I forgot to mention too was in that phase 2 construction number, at the very bottom of our last OPC, we had a few items that were going to be done by Holbrook. We pulled out about $700,000. I already pulled that out of that number you see under line 2. So that line 2 is our estimate less any of the help we're getting from Holbrook, because that scope was taken out of the plans and specs already.
Well, that's a good segue. Since we last met, have there been more meetings? Like, anybody want to update us? Did you talk to Holbrook, or you talk to Holbrook, or anybody else for that matter?
We haven't had any follow-up with them at this point. The design team has what they need as far as what they need to do plans and specs wise, so we haven't had any more.
Yeah, we have a list that's drawn up to present the hook, about like the different amount of
Internal.
equipment. Yeah, where and all that stuff, the amount of things that we're gonna potentially need. But we probably do need to set up another meeting, just so we can make sure he's on schedule
Yeah.
to hit the grant.
Selectman Donovan.
Yeah, I did speak with Steve only on the premise that we've been having workshops to do the townwide budget and specifically the capital budget. And I wanted to make sure that, from his perspective, what you had asked for was going to be funded. Because if we're gonna put together the town capital budget, didn't want any surprises.
Yeah.
He felt confident that, that things should be going along because of, there's such the largest regional
Yeah.
communication center, so it is.
Good news.
He can kind of give us like a wink and a nod.
Exactly.
But until-
What he said, it's competitive. Well, I specifically asked him, is it entitlement or competitive? He said it's competitive, but, he
Yeah.
felt pretty confident, so.
That's how we kind of operated when we just did Stoughton. He gave us a kind of a wink and a nod. I can say, yeah, but, I really can't say 100% until we get the grant.
Right.
And what he said we were going to get, we got. So.
Good. Brian, any other meetings that you might have had, other than the one you had yesterday with SCA, everything's?
No,
Nothing.
no, we're all set. We don't meet with the Holbrook. That's more of the fire department.
Yeah, or just anything out on the table, just to update everyone, since we haven't met in.
Do you want to talk about phase 2 documents?
Yeah, so we did, only meeting we've had is we met with the fire department, I don't know when that was, before Christmas.
Yeah, it was a while back.
At some point.
Last year.
Yeah, last year, and it just kind of really finalized, the finishes, some of the millworking detailing. We're gonna have a follow-up next
week.
Next week to just just nuts and bolts. Where's lockable cabinets and just really get into the really nitty gritty details. So we're really tracking for the end of this month. To really get everything buttoned up.
Yep.
And then coordinating with Weston Sampson and so I know we're getting into schedule a little bit on this conversation, but we're gonna have we'll be prepared for the middle of February to be out to bid. So really just we've been kind of in our own bubbles right now, and then now just compiling everything together. The whole site, getting the whole package together for this next phase.
So I had two questions. Did we get a resolution about the air handling, the carbon monoxide handling in the garage, and do we need any more details out of the DPW for their building? How are we? Where are we with those two issues?
Right. You can
Well,
talk about.
so we were looking at trying to do like a non-final vent system, but KBH found the code that says that you have to have something that's direct connect. But the fire chief did find a distributor that I just got the updated website and flyer from them, so I haven't even reviewed it all.
Sure.
But it's the direct connect that attaches to the actual exhaust system,
Right.
so you don't hook up to anything in the building. Somehow,
The trucks receive it.
yeah, some magic in the pipe
So-
happens,
Yeah,
and
I've
it
seen
somehow
that.
makes it go
It's
away.
Interesting, yeah.
So he really wants to look at that and consider it. That's a piece that would be added on to the fire apparatus, not the building
Correct.
itself.
Yeah, so they're doing that in Easton. We
Okay.
like literally
Really?
this came last week.
Really?
So,
Yeah, this just came out, so
So I don't want to misspeak directly, but it's roughly 10 to 20 grand per vehicle.
Mhm.
But it's a dedicated smoke eater that goes around the trucks or goes on the trucks. You're driving around town with it on. You're parking in with it, so everything like that. So
It
it's
just makes me nervous.
Really?
Doesn't. Yeah, it's supposed to completely.
it
Make
they
clean
say
air off your
completely makes
exhaust.
clean air right off of it. I
So you
know
don't
how-
need anything on the
nothing.
ceiling?
It makes
So-
me nervous. I don't know.
So I guess the
It is,
consideration
yeah.
that the chief kind of asked me to look into, but I haven't really read or called them yet, would be how much do we have allocated for a climate vent system, and then how much would those cost to do?
it's
the
probably
apparatus?
it's more expensive.
Yeah.
But again, I don't know. We don't know anything of it.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily what we would recommend, but I know you're a little bit more involved in Easton. But that chief there is hell bent on doing that.
Like, why doesn't every car in the world have this on?
Well, it's $10,000 to $20,000 a vehicle,
Yeah.
right? But so my understanding of it is, yes, everyone cautiously, as new technology comes out, is very cautious about it. But one of the things I've heard that chief mention, Chief Alexander, is state that when we're fighting a fire and you're pumping the truck and the truck's running, you're breathing it in outside for 4 hours as well. So that's also a concern that he said. So rather than just in the building, when I leave, my firefighters are out fighting fire and you're still getting the exhaust fumes potentially. So that was the argument. So still being looked at. Easton's out for bid currently, so I think we're amending that soon. But
So that's from our standpoint. That's our closest as well. So it could be another conversation with Easton's fire chief or whatnot. But it is more costly than the climate vent style system.
But like, how much, what's the difference? What's the delta?
Will be every vehicle. So we've got.
Well, these are
10
things that
total
so
vehicles.
they have the ability to add on to existing vehicles, but moving forward, you would just have it built into the spec of the vehicle. So whenever
Right.
you're getting a new vehicle, it would just come with it.
Right.
But we would have to retro all the current vehicles.
I'm just trying to get in my mind, is this like a $50,000 increase or a 600,000? Not 600, I'm
No,
sure.
no,
but,
but-
It's,
You only
it's
said
pro-
there's
it's
10
probably upwards
vehicles.
of 100,000+.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not.
But if it works, it seems like,
It is
Might
an
be the
option,
smart thing to
yes.
do,
yeah,
not just for us, but for any
Right.
indoor
It is
vehicle.
very interesting. My only kind of, with technology so new sometimes, it just makes
Oh,
me
yeah.
nervous. I can just,
you're the guinea pig.
yeah, right? And then 10 years down the road, we're retrofitting a climate vent system in your station.
Right.
Because people are getting sick or whatever. I don't know.
All right, well, so can we have a decision within a month, okay? That'd be
Yeah, I
great.
know.
We get a recommendation.
Yeah, no, I mean, it lack of a better term, it's an easy thing to pull out. We're gonna keep moving forward with the climate vent system.
Okay.
Now, yeah.
We'll have
Okay.
it, and then if we have to pull it out, either right before bidding time or hopefully not during addendum, but we'll have a decision, if that's what's happening.
Very interesting, all right.
I mean, that's a good. The climate vent system is a standalone system too. So
Right.
even mid-construction, hey, guess what? We want to shift. We can just ask for a credit for the whole climate vent system, and you could
Do the-
go the other way, you know, so it's not like it's deadline to get it out to bid, so.
It's ductwork, hoses, some air lines,
Yeah.
and the fan.
We have a little flexibility, but.
No, we got it solved prior to going
Yeah,
out to bid.
I agree.
So it's, yeah, and
Not solved, but responded their answers
like-
to.
we want to build a building, so it's like, we wouldn't buy a computer with Windows 95 on it. We want to get, what we can, the best technology that we feel comfortable with. Is, in the DPW building, is there any details that need to be?
Yeah, let me speak on that. So I've been focused on the permanent, and then obviously the holidays took a toll on everyone. But we are under phase 1 construction, which we're starting to get those submittals. So any submittals that need coordination or input, we'll forward those accordingly. Like I said, there's some color selections, things like that. And then I want to run through the building one last time, just make sure there's no details with you guys in the next week or two. And then from there, we're just running to the end. We've been coordinating mainly with the MEP team and just getting those kind of finalized details because, architectural, structural, and civil are usually further ahead than the MEP drawings for DD. And so now they're kind of looking at a lot of those last minute details. So making sure everything fits. They needed an MDF room, so we threw that in there now. So it's just a small mainframe room. So things like that. So that'll be happening soon.
Great, so each department is meeting with the respective guys and
Yeah, we haven't done anything, but soon.
move on to pre-qualification. Who wants to talk? Molly, want to talk about?
Yeah.
And explain what pre-qualification is first and then what we did?
Yeah, absolutely. So with municipal projects of this size in terms of cost, there is required by state law to have a pre-qualification process for general contractors and subcontractors, meaning that before the actual bid documents go out on the street, anyone who is interested in bidding on it has to go through a process where there's a committee formed by representatives of OPM, designer team, and the town of Abington that goes through each proposal and rates them and sees whether or not they pass or fail, so that when it comes time to actually bid, they're checked off. So essentially, like, we go through this process. If you pass, then you can bid when the documents come out. Huge thank you to everyone. Thank you, John, Brian, Derek, Alex, as well as KBA and Weston and Sampson teams. We had a little committee, and each person was, delegated a sub-trade or two. Taylor took care of the general contractors. So everyone who submitted for the pre-qualification process passed. So I believe there were 11, 12 general contractors.
11 general contractors, yeah.
11 GCs, and then a bunch of subs. So KBA and Weston and Sampson now have that list. So what they'll do with that list is when they go out, when the bidding documents, go out, there will be a list of, hey, these are all the companies, contractors that did pre-qualify. These are the people who can bid on the project. So if they did not put in for pre-qualification, then they didn't pass, which everyone did, they can't then bid on the documents when they go out. So that process is done. They have the final lists, and yeah, it was a really, really good pool.
Notices were sent out, right?
Oh yeah, sorry, notices were sent out as well. So
To each
all
contractor.
That's a pre-qualified.
yeah, so all GCs and all subcontractors were sent notices that they did indeed pass, so they are open to bid when the documents come out in mid-February.
So we have a list of 9 pre-qualified general contractors, right?
Was it 9?
Yeah.
For some reason I thought 11, but yeah,
Okay.
that list is correct, so yeah.
So these are the people who can bid, and we hope they all bid.
Correct.
We expect that they all will bid.
Yes.
So that's healthy for us.
And then the 150 or so of
Yeah.
sub bidders will, they can bid as well, so, on the
Right.
sub trades. And those are all good qualified GCs.
Is it still part of the municipal bidding process that the general contractor, whoever wins, then has to utilize the winning sub-bidder? How's it work now?
It's not, they don't have to select the lowest file sub bidder.
Is it lowest qualified, or they can pick who
They
they
can pick
want?
whomever they want.
Okay,
Yeah.
Good.
I mean, even though that sometimes is an argument with the general contractor that they don't believe they can, but they can select anyone whom they want. Sometimes in the pre-qualification bids, in their actual sub bids, they will exclude themselves from certain general contractors. You know,
Yeah.
like I
I won't work with
I will
them.
not work with Taylor. I will not work. You know, so that stuff like that. And sometimes file sub bidders will only.
Exclude GCs as well.
Yeah, and vice versa. So sometimes GCs will say I can't work or I will not work with so and stuff like that. So, a little bit of a game, but no, you don't have to select the lowest file sub bidder, but we do have to select the lowest general contractor if they're qualified and all their packages are.
Which at this
Fine.
point, they're all qualified.
Great.
But you will see, I mean, if they want to win the bid, they'll usually take the lowest.
Yeah, unless they have a reason not to pick that guy
Exactly.
because of a past bad history with him or whatever it is.
Exactly. And now that they've all been pre-qualified, it kind of unfortunately takes out like that extra step that the town could take where, you know, so everybody passed, which is great, but if it wasn't pre-qualified and the GC wanted to work with, you know, Dan's Plumbing, and we had a horrible time with Dan's Plumbing, we could tell them, look, we don't want to work with Dan's Plumbing, we want you to take the next one. And you can go through that way too, but at this point, we really can't do that because everybody's pre-qualified, so
Right.
you'd run into issues.
So again, thanks for all the work that all you guys put into that. It's a lot of reading and turning of pages, but we're basically teed up and ready to keep moving forward.
Yeah, it's a lengthy process. It took about 2 or 3 months to do the whole thing from start to finish, so.
Which is one of the things they don't tell you when you volunteer for this committee until you're on the committee.
I hope the actual process of it wasn't too crazy. The online thing, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
we just,
Yeah, Alex from our office started doing it on bid docs, like another pre-qualification thing, and it's made it so much easier. Everything's just right on the computer. You can click proposal, scan through it, rather than having like a million papers.
it used to all be by hand,
Yeah.
which was just horrible.
Yeah. But thank you very much.
Super. All right, do we want to review the action log or just?
Yeah, everybody can, you know, take a look at it. I think,
There haven't been much changes.
yeah, everything, I should say, everything for phase one is pretty much closed out. Really, the only, you know, kind of main items that I thought, you know, we should kind of touch on would be anything relating to the move of DPW.
Yeah.
Those were kind of like the hottest items, you know, the dumpsters, the trailers, the fence, any of that stuff. So I know that stuff's kind of been stagnant for a little bit. I know Scott was working on a few, getting the dumpsters and things like that too. Dumpsters there.
Dumpsters in place.
Okay.
Let's jump right into that conversation, even though it's towards the end. So, obviously, the goal is, if phase one is hopefully to be completed, what do we say, May?
Yeah, May.
In May, we would love to have all of the DPW materials and vehicles moved over to the North School so that, well, actually, depends on when the phase two contract is gonna start, but we'd like to have that ready to go.
Yeah. I'd say May drop dead at this. Just make that the
Try
drop dead
to,
date.
yeah, be off-site by May.
Yeah.
So I know the DPW has a dumpster at Central Street where they're getting rid of things they're not gonna keep, any old or junk material. And then we have to purchase and have the Connex boxes delivered to the North School along with the security fencing and a trailer. Do Taylor or John or anyone know the status of any of those three?
We were waiting for the letters to be sent out.
The letters to the neighbors?
Yeah, and then I didn't know, we were ordering the Connex boxes or Scott doing it or was we doing it?
Okay, well, it's so I have a copy of the letter that I showed you the last meeting that we're gonna ask Scott to send out. I'll bring that to Scott again and ask him to send that out next week. And basically, it's just notifying the neighbors immediately surrounding North School.
Yeah, we didn't want to start moving everything until the neighbors knew we were coming.
Now,
I think what I kind of remember is I think we were going to assist with the fence, start putting the fence together. If the town can do the Connex boxes and the dumpster and the trailers, I think that's just easier because then you can get exactly what you want, you know what you need, rather than us being in the middle of the trailer kind of negotiation.
You want
But
us to get prices and forward it to the committee and you guys can review them, or you just want us to go ahead and do it?
I think if you can work with the town manager,
Will do.
because I think we gotta get those Connex boxes up there as soon as possible, so you guys have the ability to move things into those boxes.
The fence should
Just
be.
fence priority.
Fence before the
We
Connex?
can start moving
Yes.
bulk materials.
Okay.
Sooner than later.
All right, so Taylor will work on the fence.
We'll get some quotes on the fence, yep.
If you could work with the town manager about purchasing the, I think it was 6 Connex boxes, I believe.
6.
And then you guys can talk about what trailer, it's just a trailer for your employees to,
How's that PPE?
yep, and, you know, wash their hands, use the men's room, whatever. And it needs to be connected to an electrical source, which, again, we're not using the North School building because of the condition of that building. We won't be inside it, but we are gonna connect to the electric. Who does that? How do we, is that something the town can do, or is it we need to hire someone?
We'll look into it.
Yeah, if you, because if there's a cost there, we just wanna make sure, we budget, I think it says $200,000 for fencing, Connex and everything. I just wanna make sure that
Yeah, I think that's fine.
we're good.
Yeah.
I think we would be.
Yeah. We should try this, we can hire an electrician to do it.
Oh, yeah, I don't want Henry DiCarlo to do it. I think we
No, I
need,
know.
Just the
Well,
items
yeah.
that we'll.
There will be a cost.
and I think you had mentioned, you had a price for Connex
I
was,
have a bunch of different prices.
okay,
There you have it.
10,000 each. Okay.
okay, so around 60 for those, give or take.
And we keep.
Yes, right,
We're moving to Central Street after.
Yep,
So they're-
right.
The town owns it.
all right. That's one of my biggest fears, is making sure the North School thing moves forward as quickly as possible, just so you guys have the flexibility to start getting over there. If you get finished early, great, but we don't want to be doing it in June.
Yep.
The letter's gotta go first.
Yes, all right.
Yes.
I'm gonna go to Scott after this meeting.
So trailers, trailers and Connex will be by DPW, or the town, we'll say.
Yeah?
If you need anything from us, reach out, John.
Okay.
And then fence, we'll get some quotes. I'm thinking black chain link.
I think the cheapest security,
Yeah,
I think just,
We have the dimensions drawn up.
Yeah.
I think it was 1,200 feet.
I think you just use the
Just galvanized.
galvanized, yeah, whatever the,
Just
like,
galvanized chain link.
yeah, the black is more
It
expensive.
doesn't need to be like post-driven.
Oh, it's just gonna be,
Yeah, it's gonna be
On-
on like cinder blocks.
Yeah,
oh, one of the
blocks.
template. Okay, I thought they were
Yeah.
gonna drive posts. You don't want them driving them?
No.
No.
I mean, it's not,
Okay.
the cost isn't, but I think just like you said, just simple, basic.
Right, with,
Maybe get the cost, Taylor. for
and I think there was 2
Yeah.
gates, right?
It's not a huge difference.
One gate off of Adams Street and one gate off of Plymouth, right? At where the two driveway accesses are now.
John, I'll send you an email for that plan. You can forward it to me.
Okay.
Sean,
Henry,
I know you're notifying the immediate neighbors with a letter, but I think in that site, with so much traffic going by there, you should think about some temporary signage, you know, temporary home, DPW doing fire station construction, something, because otherwise, people driving by there, you know, why are they moving here, what's going on here?
true. Although the office for the DPW is not changing, I don't want people to try to pull in there.
Temporary equipment store.
Can put something out online too.
Yeah,
you know.
on the town
I'm sure we'll
website. and
post
all.
some, yeah, on the Facebook site, the town website.
There's so many people driving by that spot.
Oh, yeah.
Does the letter say anything about the neighbors that are using the parking lot as their own private parking?
I don't think it says it particularly.
There's like 10 vehicles on the parking lot.
Over on the crazy corner?
Yeah, where our employees will be parking.
There won't be any more.
Is that where you're gonna, the one near New England Art, that corner there, Birch Street? I don't think it does, but I think I also do know who some of those people are. So we can reach out to them directly and say, you know, you're not gonna be able to do that, for a year and a half, 2 years. I did speak to one of the neighbors already and gave her a heads up. I didn't specifically talk about the parking issue, but, love to mention it to her. She's very cooperative. Anything else with the North School move? I guess the electrical, if you, if, maybe when you're talking with Scott about the trailer you purchased, if you could- he could perhaps assist in hiring an electrician. I mean, it's not a lot of work, but it's something we want an electrician to do.
No, I know that.
Yeah, well, I know you know, I just,
Yes.
okay. Bob, you have anything to add? I know you're watching diligently, but,
No, not at this point.
super. Anything else on the action item log that's of immediate concern?
No, I just went through it myself. Anything in white is open. I would say 18, a bidding schedule, but Sean kind of already alluded to that. I did pass out an updated bidding schedule, just based on the permitting for phase 2, that it's kind of gone on a little bit longer. We just pushed out the bidding time 2 weeks, just to give the team a little bit more time to get things done. So we're planning to have the bid documents, I think, available before Christmas. We were talking about February 5th, now we're looking at February 19th.
That's when they're going out to the
That's when they're
public.
going out to the public, yep. And so
With-
everything would be back by the April 2nd.
Hey, excuse me. On this, are we doing Project Dog, bid docs? What are you thinking? Just because that'll have to.
Yeah,
update
that's a great question.
Project.
I like using Project Dog. I don't know.
I know you guys use bid docs for the,
That's just for the prequel.
okay. I like Project Dog too.
Let's use Project Dog.
So what that is, just so everyone knows, it's an electronic bidding thing, and with the amount of filed sub bids we have on this project, it's nice. All of a sudden, at let's say 2:01, we'll get the file with all the bids scanned in, which is nice because honestly, scanning in 150 bids potentially is a lot of work. So it kind of pays itself off. It's instantaneous, and finding that bidders seem to like it because they can work on their bid up until 159.
Yeah,
Click submit.
the old way of doing it, right, was the town receives all the bid packages. They're
People running in the office at 5:02.
Yeah, exactly. So it takes the headache away from Scott's office. It's at the end of the day, I think it's $950 to have the whole thing hosted online. Anytime an addenda is issued, it all goes out, so the town never has to be worried about like, hey, we didn't get the addenda because you didn't send it out. So it's the way I'd say 95% of the towns handle it.
950 that we pay for, or each
Yeah,
contract?
it would be an additional cost, but
Yep.
$1,000 gets we can take
Yep.
it from somewhere else.
No, it's and much more efficient, and, okay, that'd be great. So the goal is to send the bids out on February 19th and to have the due date to return any bids to the town by April 2nd, I think is what I just heard?
Correct.
And then they will be reviewed, and we would be awarding a contract sometime later in April?
Yeah, usually that process takes about a month. By the time they come in, you review them, agree on the contract, that sort of thing.
Yep. And how much, given that timetable, what are we thinking we might see shovels in the ground or buildings falling down, I guess?
You're really pressing me.
Just for the viewers at home, we're looking at
May,
June?
yeah, I'd say June. Probably see some, by the end of June, shovels in the ground.
I mean, whoever we award the contract to has a deadline. We give them,
Correct.
we
Once
must
they're,
start within 60 days or whatever the process.
yeah, and then once we issue the notice to proceed, the clock's ticking.
Yeah.
Right, so, I forget if it was 16 or 18 months ago. I think it was 18.
Between 16 and 18. I think we're at 16 right now.
Yeah, so the minute we issue that notice to proceed, those days start ticking.
Great.
And Sean, something just to think about if for, I don't know, the town, this would be more on your end, deciding if you want to do like a groundbreaking ceremony, something like that, for June. Basically, it doesn't need to be before ground is actually broken, but like bring shovels out,
Right. And it's,
photo opportunity, I don't know.
no, I totally agree with you, the golden shovel thing.
Yeah.
But it's, or do we bring the golden sledgehammer, and,
That'd be pretty cool, actually.
yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I guess the town selectmen can talk about it and figure out, do we do it at the beginning of demolition, or do we do it at the beginning of actual construction or whatever?
It's really up to you. Sometimes, like we just did one in Swansea, and ground was already broken for like a couple months, but they had their own ceremony. Like they wanted to have speeches, stuff like that. So it really depends, like when you want it. Totally up to you.
We'll defer to Selectman Chairman Donovan, I'm sure. Doesn't really matter what we want to do. Just kidding, Mr. Donovan.
You're learning.
Okay, any other issues there in the action log?
I got a question, Sean.
Sure.
What is the review period when the docs go out on the 19th?
Oh, so the review period would be before that.
Okay.
QC.
Yeah. So that's part of what we're doing right now, Bob, is, so the course of this month is our QA/QC, the two products separately. the DPW and the fire station project, and then basically between the first 2 weeks of February is that last kind of QA/QC check for everything else. So.
That's a good point, because we need a set as well, so.
Yeah, so-
Whenever that set's at 95%,
So end of this month,
yeah.
we'll have that.
Quality control before they go out to bid.
So, and then when it goes out to bid, the file sub bidders will have 4 weeks, and then 2 weeks for the general contractor after that. So it'll be a 6-week big bid period,
Yeah.
which I know is separate than what you just asked for, but.
Mr. Donovan,
Just a question, on the 16th month, 16 months after notification, is that to completion?
Substantial completion,
substantial.
yep.
and then-
So you could, if you gave it notice to proceed, say, June 1st, you're looking substantial completion by October of
The next year.
the next year?
Yeah, I want to say it's 18 months.
We were
though.
at 18 is what I
I
remember.
think it's 18 months,
18
but
months on site and then 2 months maybe for warranty closeout.
close out, yeah.
Yeah, that's probably what it was. 16 months construction, 2 months closeout, so 18 months. But going back to what you're saying, that, it would be the end of 26.
When it's 26.
that's the goal, with all things going Abington's way, good weather, all
So
that.
occupation,
Occupancy and
occupancy.
by the end of 26.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's,
And-
correct me if I'm wrong, there's potential the DPW building is done in advance of the fire station? Would that be,
Could be.
Could
It
be.
might not be utilities though hooked up.
okay,
On multi-building projects, we usually don't, that are like this, we usually don't say like you gotta get one before the other, because there's like a lot of things that are like in sync with each other, you
Yep.
know what I mean? So.
no need, I just bring it up, no need to rush it. I mean, maybe it's better to have finished the site as a whole
That's the thing.
before we go on it, yeah.
It usually, it's means and methods, unless there's a major reason to get in one building before the other, right? But I think what we've seen on multi-building projects is as you get closer, if one department can move into one, because it's finished and you're still working on the other one, sure, absolutely,
Yeah, ideally, we'd be at the North School the least amount of time as possible.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
and maybe we move the Connex boxes up to the new site even before you're in the building, because it's just, no
Well,
harm.
I only have one winter through the North School.
And when we meet with the contractor, we can, make that a point. Look, we'd love to see the DPW finished earlier if that's able to be done. And, work with them that way, so.
All right, the other off-site issues, I don't know how we want to address some of these. The Central Street water main, again, there was a concern brought up by the water department about the age of the Central Street water main, and we're going to be tapping into it. Is that going to create an issue? And as I understood it, the water department was using most of their federal money for PFAS and didn't, for this past fiscal year, didn't have money available to go replace or upgrade the Central Street water main. I don't know, Mr. Donovan, has there been any communication you're aware of, or Mr. Bezanson?
No, we've got to talk to the water commissioners on some other issues.
Okay,
I think we're gonna have to deal with
all right.
Sean, related to that, if the street is dug up, myself and a couple of the other neighbors I've been talking to would love to see the utilities across the street that come from the poles on the pond side.
I've heard that request from Mr. DeCal about burying the utilities.
So I'd love to see the whole street done.
I would-
And if you drive down there right now, there's one pole that's sister to another one that's been hit. And we've lost a couple of trees on that street, so
Yeah.
it happens, and just to make it more robust, get them underground, but even one for the police station now goes overground and that drops down on the property.
I think it would look great aesthetically, but I know it's very expensive to bury them. I only say this because when we put the new school in, we wanted to drop the utilities from the school out to Route 18, and I think it was about a $600,000 cost to do that. Which, obviously, doing the utilities across the street from our project is not budgeted in our project. But I would love to see it done. I don't think it's gonna be done under our watch, but we do need to look at the sufficiency of that water main, and,
But as a minimum, the ones that come from the pole over to the property, crossing across the top of the street.
while we're digging trenches, can we dig
Yeah,
it?
get them underground, get it down here. If you're going underground on property, most of what I've seen in the plans.
Yeah.
So, just extend it to the other side of the street. I mean, ideally, clear all the poles off the street.
Yeah.
And aesthetically for the pond, it's better. I mean, there's many positives, but.
I mean, if we could check with National Grid, we are carrying a back charge of $50,000. Is that the going rate? Is that? No, and for people who don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, when we need National Grid to come in and disconnect the existing buildings and reconnect the new buildings and stuff, they charge us for that.
Correct. Yeah, that's what that's for. That's what that we call it back charging. But yeah, it's and I don't want to step on my own toes here, but we've recently seen the charges be pretty low actually,
Good.
and sometimes not even charging the departments to hook up. So yes, that's what it's there for. Is when they bring and drop the new transformer, there's a cost. When they come in, set the lines, it's a new cost. But yeah.
Gone are the days of Eastern Edison digging
Yeah.
holes for you at no
They
charge.
used to do free hookups for public safety. They don't do that anymore. But on the last few projects, I've been actually surprised at how low the costs have been.
Good. And then the intersection of at St. Bridget's and up at Washington Street, there's an Opticon at Plymouth Street. We're gonna try to figure out who's responsible or how to fix it.
The town is responsible at a cost of $15,000.
1.5?
Yes.
15,000?
Yes, and they last 5 years.
Okay. Something for us to talk about if it's either gonna come out of our budget or if it comes out of the general budget or whatever. The Opticon is a system that makes the lights turn green for the fire department or police department when they approach an intersection, and since that is now gonna be right next to the police and fire, it's probably something that should be operational in my personal mind. So maybe we'll continue that discussion and see if it's something we can carry or if we need to plant that seed in the future town budget. What do you think about that, Taylor? That is something like to kind of keep out of our budget, or something we might be able to absorb, or maybe we wait till the contingency, we get further into our.
Yeah, that's something I
project?
would say let's earmark.
Yeah.
And as we get further down the line,
John, I don't know who you talked to about this. Is it something they repair what's there or replace what's there?
Total replacement, right, Brian? Yeah, total replacement.
Okay. You don't know how,
They become obsolete after 5 years.
really? Okay.
Most of
Great
most of the
business
ones in town don't work.
Yeah.
I know they don't. It's amazing.
There's a few of them in town that are out.
No,
Yeah.
almost all of them. There's like maybe 4 or 5 I can think of that actually
4 or 5 that are
work.
Yeah, I think Lowe's works, and
Lowe's, the one outside the high school, the Lowe's one used to, it's fixed now. I don't know who fixed it. The state must have fixed it. But it would
Yeah,
go
both
backwards.
ways.
Really?
When we approached it, it would turn red. And it was backwards for years.
well, anything we can do to enhance the safety of those intersections would be great. And same thing with Central and Washington Street. We'll look at that. I'll talk more with Selectman Donovan.
I could put a line item in here and just at 0, just a way to remember it.
Yeah.
And as we get
Great.
further along, if we want to fund that line, we can.
Great, and I think they're moving down on the agenda, trying to move forward. I think we've already talked about the estimated dates for bidding award, demolition, and construction of Phase 2. We've talked about the relocation of North School and the things that need to be done, which I'd like to, hopefully by the time we meet next, we're gonna have all those answers and know how much we're spending and when those Connex boxes and fences are coming. So that begs, when do you want to meet next? Unless there's anything else people need to discuss, want to bring up. Otherwise, what looks good for everyone right now? Today's January 10th. Do we need to meet in 2 or 3 weeks?
Well, how long do you guys need to do your OPOC before bids go out?
The QC review.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're, right now, just kind of internally, we're going for the 20, sorry, I think it's the 24th.
Well, I mean, if bids go out 2/19, should we meet 2 or 3 weeks before that?
Yeah, I think maybe meeting the week of like February 3rd or 10th.
We have,
Just to, yes, we're on track to go out to bid. If there's any loose ends we need to tie up, then
the Fridays are either Friday the 31st, Friday the 7th, Friday the 14th.
I would do the 7th because I don't think it's enough time to react before it
If
goes
there
out
is
on the
something.
19th.
Yeah.
And then I think that's not the week of February vacation, right?
No, that's the
Correct.
week after.
So,
Well, that's a good point.
yeah, I think we do the 7th. That way, if there's any sort of last minute changes or questions on it before we list it in the central register, maybe that's when the building committee
February
votes on.
15th.
So it gives you guys a couple
List it.
weeks and,
Yep.
all right.
7th.
Is that okay with everyone? Bob, Bob, are you on Zoom with us for the month of January, February, March? Is that what it is?
And April.
Lucky guy. All right. So circle February 7th, if you would, Friday, February 7th, 9 o'clock. Is that good for everyone?
Yep. One thing that just kind of sparked was, so February vacation is the week of February 17th. Is that correct?
Yes.
I'm just wondering if we put the bid out the next week, because if the, you know,
I think it's fine.
yeah, okay.
I mean,
I know what you're saying, but
the central register is still posted on Christmas. So
Yeah, that's, yeah. All right. I agree.
All right,
So what would you be bringing to us on February 7th? The documents ready for quality?
we'll have
Review?
done for the 29th. So what we'll do is we'll send you what our quality control package is, just
Prior to that meeting?
reference, you know, here you go. And then for the 7th, we can touch on anything that anyone has
Yeah.
in this group.
Yeah.
You know, so it'll be like the 95, 90, whatever. It'll be almost done.
Great.
And I would say that, like, we're going to take that package and go through it. And, you know, we've done QC reviews. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but we've done QC reviews. We've had 500 comments. We're not going to go through a list of, you know, 500 comments at a meeting.
At
You know
our
what I mean?
meeting,
So,
no.
because we just take those in-house. Ours is all done in-house and we send it. And it's, you know, we're looking at things that, like, hey, detail 7 on sheet, you know, 5.3 doesn't match the, you know, it's things like that. Like,
Right.
we're looking for constructability
Conflicts and-
stuff. Yeah, conflict. So just to give everybody a heads up on what's expected of a QC review. There will be things in there, yes, that, you know, why don't we use this instead of that? But a lot of it is making sure that there's no holes in the documents.
Right. And there is no perfect set of construction documents, we'll get that out there.
Correct.
But we do our best to put as many eyes on it to see if anyone jumps out. I mean, one of the things that always comes up is conflicts like in the ceilings between the guy running the ductwork and the plumber, and the guy who cores a hole through a beam because he wants his pipe to go through it, and, you know, things like that, which won't happen in this project. So we'll have an opportunity to take a look, and people can look at whatever specific things that are understandable to them, let's say that, because some things are above my pay grade, and but Pomeroy will be our eyes and ears also. So good luck, Anthony. I hope you're right on it. Yes, sir.
So the letter that you're gonna send to the neighbors, you're hoping to send that next week?
Yeah, I'm gonna ask, I'll give you another copy of it before you leave here today.
Then is there a grace period before, that we're giving them, before we can start moving stuff over there?
I don't know if it had a date, but we can review it, and I think, you know, this is a draft that I gave to Scott, so it's Scott, and you guys have edited it the way you want it to be. It's not a letter from me.
I think we got the.
Yeah, this is the original.
Got that.
I just brought it because I wanted to remember to tell Scott to mail it out, because we had talked about sending it out after the holidays. So we'll try to get this out as quickly as possible, and if you have anything you want to tweak, just let us know. No, but still, let's read it again, you know, now that got more information. Anything else, boys and girls? Other than that, take a motion to adjourn at 10:09. Motion made by Derek and seconded by Gordon. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Well, thanks for tuning in, thanks for everyone, and we'll see you on February 7th.